Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're finally back towards European League here. It's currently week 9, day 1, first matchup here for our semi-finals, in which after last week's conclusions, this week we'll be able to see DelayedByPing versus Blood Angels, as Blood Angels was able to make it from, if I'm not wrong, top 8 to top 4, which is our current semi-finals here. I'm Mikasa Kuroshiro, and with me is Bamima. Bamima, how are you feeling for today's matchup between these two teams?
I am feeling really ready and excited for who they're going to play. It's a Red Church first map pick here. Going to be really interesting. It's been a while since we saw DelayedByPing, right? Isn't that going to be fun to watch them play again? I'm really curious how they're going to do now that it's, the semifinals, going into the finals next week. And I am so ready for who's going to move on and actually take, the victory next week in the very bloody final battles here.
And not only that as well, for our first matchup of today, it will be DelayedByPing's Hunter Never going up against Blood Angel Survivors. Once again, the map here being chosen is Red Church as well. So, with Red Church is kind of more Hunter-sided, I guess, compared to Survivor-sided now with the recent new meta. Of course, with Hollow Blue, Opera, Ivy being played a lot more on this map. However, still, I would say now going from top 4 to top 2, from semifinals to finals, these 8 teams in general will kind of more or less battle out to see whether or not there is any contention for that first place.
For sure, just as you said, I think this is going to be like some of the best performing, obviously the best performing teams that we've seen so far, so I'm really excited to see how, they're gonna play. I'm expecting some overall higher quality than what we were seeing previously in the bracket stages and also the start of the top 8. I'm really curious to see, the Koa-worthy level place that we'll be seeing here, especially from with hunters that play a lot of different meta. I'm very curious how it's going to go, because previously we've seen like Geisha, etc. Not really that much on, the very strong hunters. So I'm really curious how these survivors are going to play into that instead of the more so random surprise picks that we've seen previously.
But with these kind of two teams going up against each other once again, DelayedByPing does have previous members of Raven as well. So I would say for the next matchups from Survivor side, it'll be quite interesting to see how Blood Angels Hunter would be able to go up against them. If I'm not wrong, Blood Angels Hunter last week did pull out a Hermish as well during our round 1 in Darkwoods as well, but we'll be moving shortly on now towards the ban pick phase. Here we go, as all players here are currently ready to go as well. Once again, this is going to be DelayedByPing versus Blood Angels, as it will be DelayedByPing's Hunter Never up against the survivors of BA.
And we are currently moving into the ban pick phase with Never going to ban 2 survivors here, which we are seeing a Seer. Really normal ban here. Seer and Antiquarian. Who do you think he's gonna play based on that?
Considering Never, who does have chip hunters overall, Doctor here being first pick alongside with Enchantress just means that, you don't have the Hollow Blue available to be chosen here anymore, so there is still contention for Opera Stinger, especially on this map up against Doctor.
Yeah, for sure. 2 really strong Goatman and Hollow counters, so you don't really want to be playing that. But Opera Singer is amazing on Red Church. Same with, I think previously talked about Peddler from Never. I think he's played her on this map as well. Would be really interesting to see. Mechanic and Gardener ban, followed by a first officer pick here. How do you think?
Survivors are kind of just missing one fast decoder, right? If they do have it, Aeroplanets here would be kind of the top notch here, as you can see, Bane locking in the Aeroplanets. But it's as you said as well, right, Bamima? Peddler does full counter Doctor pretty hard, especially with landing the chip damages and knowing where she is 24/7 as well. So from the side of Doctor here being locked in by Bane, the real question comes with whether or not the support or harass from Enchantress is enough.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of, she does have, a speed boost from the chip hit, which has previously been for Doctor, but I don't really know if that is enough to counter Peddler's really fast damage dealing. Especially because, if she does try to heal, she can just get chipped, from standing still.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is really dependent on the Enchantress's support here. Other than that, I'd say it's a really strong rescuing team here, with both First Officer and Aeroplanus having really strong rescuing capabilities. And I don't think they would struggle all too much into Peddler. Might be a bit difficult with the Vine in terms of rescuing here, with being potentially caught out from far away. But I'm not too sure. I do think that's probably going to be a challenge for our Doctor, though, if that is who the Hunter chooses to play.
Well, I mean, I would say Doctor would have be the way to go here, because if anyone else does come into the equation, it's going to be way too hard for Never to run it down. But it seems like with Opera Senior here currently being locked, it is still Red Church at the end of the day. Our Shadow Leap's traversals are quite easy to make around this map. So it is just about whether or not we could get that lead with a 90-second containment time, even forcing out the Blink first hit to Cypher Rush for mid to end game up against this Opera.
Yes, for sure. As for builds, we're seeing a Flywheel Borrow Time on Enchantress, Tide Borrow Time on both First Officer and Aeroplanist here, and a full Kite on the Doctor. They might have been aiming to have her take first chase against, a Peddler, but here as an Opera Singer, both Enchantress and Doctor are very valid options. The dash route into Church as Opera Singer is quite easy, with it being basically no time for the survivors to breathe. Don't you agree? Especially when you spawn on middle left, just as Opera Singer did here.
Yeah. And we can rotate towards Enchantress as well for the support if necessary here too. So overall though, Opera Singer spawning by left to Dilapidated Runes, with Doctor at middle, Shot given towards Aeroplanus, with First Officer Red Carpet, and of course Box Runes or the entrance of Graveyard for Enchantress here. More or less speaking, for Doctor, our main rotation will be taking the window on the right side of the Church, and then finally making that rotation with Knee-Jerk Reflex towards Graveyard to spam the pallets and see whether or not there are contentions for pallet stunts or pallet mind games.
Oh, and that's good, because you have Enchantress up there, right, available for support, as you previously said. So that would be a really smart route for the Doctor to take, probably the only viable one if they actually want to contain this Opera for long enough to force out a trade.
But let's move on towards the game then here, shall we? This will be game 1 first half between Blood Angels versus DelayedByPing, as once again it is DelayedByPing's Hunter up against Blood Angel Survivors. And here, as we can see, Opera in her blue suit as we now move on towards the game.
So you will be seeing the Opera, obviously, instantly headed towards Church here, with the Doctor, messing up a bit of a dash here, with the Doctor taking that broken window speed boost over to Graveyard. With that Opera having messed up her dash, it does actually let the Doctor get a lot of distance here, not taking an early first hit, going towards Graveyard here, and is not forced to drop the first pallet here. When it comes to Opera, you really just want to pallet spam. That's the best way to counter her constant speed. See, that pallet was not dropped, which would allow for a pretty early hit, though we are very, very skinny here, as shown from the Doctor, already rotating towards the Enchantress here.
Doctor currently healing. We should be able to get 2 medical bottles up on time for the dab, but I guess we're going to try camp around this one window to see whether or not there are any contentions after all. Seems like we should be able to get the heal here with 1 medical bottle just about on time. So Bane here taking the second hit with Flywheel here being forced out. However, it will end up as a broken wheel here. Doctor once again trying to make her way towards that one window. Blink ready in 2 seconds. I think Doctor is currently worse for wear. We have to save that last medical bottle for later on.
Oh, but Opera does mess up her dash here, though unfortunately, messes up yet another dash. With her going back, she was able to get it back on, back off cooldown, but she did miss again, and that is a first out blink. Do you think Bane can get that next heal? I'm pretty sure they can. They do have 1 bottle left, and maybe that Enchantress is going to go in for a rescue, so we don't need to deal with a tight situation, though unfortunately she is on wanted order. And yet another dash mess up here. Still on a 3-second cooldown. Who is moving in for this rescue? It does look like it is the Aeroplanus making a good job to stall before half. The Opera is kind of parading away from the chair, actually allowing a free rescue.
Ooh, missed 2 hits here from the side of our aeroplaners, but Doctor did manage to rotate away here as well. However, we are taking the window here. I thought we were going to rotate towards the other side, but still, Doctor going through middle isn't really the best course of action even for her. We missed the Shadow Leap once again here. Another 8-second cooldown, which means Doctor can just get behind the pallet and start dabbing herself up back to full. This is kind of bad scenario here for Doctor. Well, not for Doctor, but for Opera Singer to play around in. And you can see here as well, right? 3 Cypher Machines about to be done. Doctor tanking that hit as another rotation out with those additional veteran speed boosts here too, which makes Opera a very, very, very hard chase.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even if this is one of Opera's best areas for getting those fast dashes, you can see that this Doctor is holding quite well up here, forcing the Opera to break this pallet. Probably going to force a pallet drop on the pallet break on the second one as well. This Doctor is living for a really, really long time. Probably not going to be that much of a rebound after the next rescue, but as long as they can live for long enough here with the Enchantress, is a really good stun there. Fortunately, this is still down. The Enchantress does have one stun to work with, though. Is she going to get that balloon rescue?
Balloon rescue does come true, however the hit down will still be inevitable, but we see here as well, Aeroplane is rushing straight towards this Cypher machine that's very closely nearby to the last Cypher. We do know that First Officer has his final Cypher machine at Red Carpet too, but still, rotation-wise from Survivor's side, a bit more questionable on that side note. But even so, from the side of Blood Angels, they are doing quite well when it comes to that containment time as well. That's going to be Aeroplane's jetpack here coming out. We're going to have the Shadow Dance back here just on time as FO is able to make his way in. That's going to be Pocket Watcher activated earlier on. And with this, it should be a guaranteed rescue here no matter what, as second activation comes through as well. We want to save the third one just to prevent a double down scenario, but this is quite tight right now as we got the rescue on time. Very nicely done by our officer. And now the fourth Cypher machine at 80%.
Yes, and we do have another blink ready for Never here, though. I mean, if you do blink here, that would basically just be accepting the tie.
Ooh.
Hopefully they're able to get this down without using blink. Yeah, really good job here. Dying towards a corner here. It's really difficult to rebound as Doctor when you have Side Turner on you and no bottles available. You kind of just have to accept your death on that side. Dying away from Cyphers here. But they have started middle.
Yes, and we are starting a new one here at least, so it's not the worst case scenario here from the side of Blood Angel, but still, Never's Opera is here. If that's the case right now, we can't afford to miss a single Shadow Leaf, because if that's the case with accelerated decoding, Cypher machines are just way too fast. 2 survivors on the Cypher machine here once again, no one given actually any pressure at middle. So with teleport available to be used here, Never has a huge chance of map control, as he did dictate which Cypher machine is currently being decoded.
Yes, though I think because they only have one. Oh yeah, that is down there. Though they do have 2 Cypher machines on 70%. Yes, they will force a rescue here, but I think it's going to be prime in time for them to. I mean, potentially you can teleport into a flip back to the chair, you know, to force a pop, because they do have a half health person on the chair, not on the Cypher. But they do have a watch up as well. So forcing it at an opportune moment is not going to be way too difficult for our survivors here. Opting for the camp here, I do think that this is probably going to be a tie, depending on how they play the endgame, of course. But with their given situation, it might be a bit difficult to get a bit more than that for this hunter here.
Yeah, we'll be able to get the rescue here regardless of soul, but now we want to see whether or not there's room for containment, especially to allow Ench to get towards the exit gate. Right now, our aeroplane is rushing straight towards the back. We have jetpack already on hand to use as the Cypher machine finally popped open for the exit gate. But still, let's not forget the most important thing of this game right now is we still do have teleport ready, with, of course, the trump card as well. But right now, Sophie by himself, we do have Shadow Dance, not Shadow Dance, we do have Hover ready to use, as straight towards the windows we go, as that's finally one more lifeline here bought for herself. First Officer standing just by Dungeon there as the exit currently at 65%. Teleport coming out here instantly just means it's a triple stack from the side of Enchanters, as Blood Angels here very nicely done. It's a guaranteed tie game for them, and of course up against DelayedByPing's Hunter.
Oh, really good job from both the Hunters and Survivors here. Dare I say that Doctor kited really beautifully. Especially forcing that first blink, I think that made their rebound kite very, very possible, especially when they managed to get both bottles to force, heals. Their whole rebound at the other side of the map. It was a bit unfortunate that the aeroplanist had started a Cypher that was that close
Yes.
to where they were kiting, the overall, I think the job was really well done. But yeah, Blood
Yeah.
Angels here, and we will now be moving into Blood Angels Hunter versus Delayed by Ping Survivors for round 1, second half.
And I do think more or less with that gameplay from the side of Opera's team, we can see that it's not that much proficient on the Hunter as well. Missed quite a lot of Shadow Leaps towards the early game there too, which can be used for quite a lot of retraining and rework on that. But overall as well at the same side, right? I do believe, early game for that Doctor, an easy rotation would be just to take the window, as we have realized that Opera Singer was on Shadow Leap cooldown instead of waiting there for any longer as well. Would say a lot of still potential from the side of Doctor for more rebound kite, but it was the shadow dances that were a little bit off on Opera as well, which allowed Doctor to pop off.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you stall against an opera singer, she can very easily catch up to you. You want to constantly try to maintain as much distance as possible, though that's very difficult against such a fast hunter. I do definitely think that, because the opera singer made a lot of mistakes with their shadow dance, it made it a lot easier for the Doctor to kite. Though their overall routing, there was nothing off with that, but you are correct that, they did kind of waste some time. I think they were kind of carried by the fact that the opera singer did make mistakes, but at the same time, I think they had the main idea down on where to go. Though I think the opera singer gameplay could have been a bit more optimal from the side of Delayed by Ping's Hunter.
Yeah, because we saw Enchantress coming into support as well, right? During when the 3 Cypher Machines has already been popped and primed. However, I just feel like for an Enchantress there, trying to harass for a Doctor who's 1 chip down really wasn't for the best. If it was half health, it might have been way better for potential body blocks to get Doctor to full health, right? But it really was just, look, by that case and scenario, you might as well just try Cypher Rush once again instead of going for that harass.
Yeah. Especially because, it's a really strong area for Opera Singer to be in. Even if, you can get a potential balloon rescue with a body block, it would be kind of difficult for Doctor to rebound. And even when you're not going for, the balloon rescues and you're trying to rescue against a Doctor who would need to chip heal twice, it's just completely impossible for her to actually get those heals off because Opera Singer is so fast in that area.
Yeah.
So even if, you get a body block, that's not going to be enough to heal 2 chips unless you would have a 3 stack. Then it'd be a bit of a different situation, but you only had really 2 stacks to work with. In a strong area, you are correct that the best idea would probably be to get the Doctor away from where they're cipher rushing and then start decoding.
Yeah, and I would say we're kind of now eyeing towards the kind of re-switch here too, because the last game was a tie game, so it can still be a 50-50 from both Survivors and Hunter side as well. We're going to move on straight towards the second half now, as we will be able to see Lolzy from the side of Blood Angels up against Delayed by Ping's Survivor. So I would kind of indicate in our scenario here, we're kind of looking at whether or not there are capabilities of getting that 3-man escape game, or maybe 3-man elimination game, since it is still just round 1 after all.
Yes. We are now entering the banned pig phase here. As you said, we have Lolzy aka Blood Angels Hunter playing against the Survivors here with Doctor and Enchantress instantly banned. Really, really annoying Survivor combo to play against. They do counter both Goatman and Blue. And, I have heard that Lolzy plays Hermit. I think we previously discussed it as well, and Doctor is quite strong against Hermit. I think Enchantress is okay as well. So maybe Lolzy will be playing that. Though Retro a bit annoying.
We got the Seer and Pharaoh out as well, so sure, look, we're just gonna have to see what Lolzy's third ban is, which is that Gravekeeper.
I do think a Hermit would be very possible here considering these bans, though you could also be seeing something like a Goatman with all 3 of these being pretty strong into him as well. We're seeing a first officer pick here from Umi, and a 4th ban from Lolzy. I wonder who they're going to ban, and it's a psychologist.
It's not such a bad ban from the side of Lolzy, but it does make it quite obvious that we don't want to we want to play Hermit here, but Hermit up against the Seer, especially with the damage sharing, just means it's a lot of Owl consumptions that can come out from the side of the Seer as well. And if possible, all survivors here most likely will be running Flywheel too. It's rare to see Knee-Jerk Reflex up against a Hermit. It's more Flywheel based, as our final pick was the Antiquarian.
Yes, for sure. Flywheel would be really good into a Hermit. I mean, they might have something else planned though. Considering the bans, it is very, very much looking like a Hermit. But how does Hermit fare on Red Church? I don't really think I've seen him played all too much there.
You don't see him too much, to be fair, but there are some neat tips and tricks and kind of niche spots where Hermit does work really well with to guarantee the stuns for his polarity orbs. But still, with all the long walls surrounding this map, it just allows survivors for easy rotations and, of course, just to cut the corners a bit tightly to disengage with your polarity orbs as well. I would say it's more 50-50, but with a Seer on the map, if you don't chase after this Seer first, it's just additional free hits for the survivors to tank.
Yeah, that's true. So we would need to see that Seer get chased if they do want to play Hermit, because, you know, they can eat the stun and then, oh, yeah, no, but there's an Owl, so what are we going to do about that? Nothing, exactly. So, yeah, Pharaoh Lady is also quite annoying if they do end up picking Hermit, as she does counter the shared decoding to all the ciphers. So if they don't chase the Pharaoh, it's quite easy for the survivors to cipher rush. And if they don't chase the Seer, that is very easy for the survivors to tank hits. So it's overall a kind of annoying comp into a Hermit.
Yeah, and as you said as well, right, Pharaoh Lady can also steal Cypher Machine decoding progress from the other Cypher Machines as well. So just continuous Cypher Rush there from the side of Pharaoh Lady too. And I would say more or less in our game, it's very possible that we're going to be able to see two survivors decoding a single cipher around mid to end game, where we potentially speaking could have three cipher machines almost about to be done. But let's move on towards the area selection mode here.
It does look like we are putting our Pharaoh Lady in middle, and she does have broken windows, really good for rotating around there, with the Hermit spawning in Graveyard, probably going to chase after Pharaoh or Seer here. Seer does have Flywheel in terms of builds. That's Flywheel Burrow Time on Anti, Flywheel Burrow Time on Seer, Broken Windows Burrow Time on Pharaoh Lady, and Burrow Time Tide Turner on First Officer. Really good to have Burrow Time against the Hermit there, I say. One of the best final traits to have, because you want that full health endgame. It's very annoying if you don't.
Yeah, and there's a high chance that maybe a Seer doesn't get first chase. We'll be saving that I will for the rescue just to maintain momentum, potentially speaking, for a rebound kite on any survivors on chair as well. But it is still pretty ballsy to say in an informal way of Lalzi choosing out a Hermit up against a full counter team here as well. But once again, let's move on straight towards the game. This will be DelayedByPing versus B8 Hunter, as we will move on towards game 1 second half.
With the previous round, you know, being a tie, they do need to go for either a tree escape or a tree K, depending on which faction they're playing. I'm curious how this is going to turn the tides, because, you know, it's a blank slate from round 1. What am I even talking about? It does look like we're connecting middle cipher here. And walking up towards the Seer with Umi taking first kite.
See already in position here for the dodges as well, but we are pretty close here as the blue orb will not land. I will just gonna walk straight onto it. I guess that's fine as well. Going head straight up against a Hermit, but the issue here coming with the fact that you don't have Owl back just yet. So with 3 seconds until we have our next polarity orb here ready, if the Owl does not pop back on time, that's a really bad start.
Luckily, though, Seer does have that Owl. That is a stun, but they do get the Volt, which allows them to make it to another pallet, as Hermit does no longer have a stun to work with. As we said previously, Owl is back. Flywheel is up as well in 2 seconds. Hermit does have Blink up in about 10. Do we get that stun there? No, we are playing very patiently from the side of Lulzi here, not wanting to waste any stuns. Do you get that Volt just playing around this pallet? That is a beautiful Flywheel from our Seer into a Blink.
But Seer right now, even by taking that hit, still has Owl on hand to use. So now target changing straight towards that first officer, who does have a red polarity orb on him. Nice pocket watch there use. Additional 10% movement speed boost. We're able to get us out of the range. But still, once again, we're going to have to proc that as much as possible here. Putting into cooldown this early, I'm not too sure if that was the best idea. But still, getting the window vault over as Lalzi manages to play the mind game. But it doesn't really matter. It's a first officer we're talking about here. And Seer is still outside.
Oh, I think that was an attempted... Yeah, that was an attempted hit there into the vault, allowing him to get outside of church here. Playing around that pallet is really, really difficult, especially against the Hermit. It was basically a guaranteed hit. We just wanted to stall it for as long as possible. Looks like Hermit here wants to use a red charge, so that is just a forced out pocket watch, switching on to the Brilliant.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Beautiful double disarm from our Auntie here. We don't really want to waste our stuns here, as we are disarmed for another 1 second. Unfortunately, that did not turn into a disarm for our Antiquarian here, and that is quite a lot of flute consumption just to delay that first hit, which they unfortunately did get hit by. That is a max presence for Hermit into a beautiful stun triggered on this Anti. No one is sharing that damage though, so that is going to be the down, and basement is here.
Cypher Machine decoding in progress is okay, I think. However, also at the same time, first officer here currently at max out. Seer probably has to save that owl in order to allow the anti to rebound kite, because if we don't look for the rebound kite, that owl should be saved for our second rescue. Lalzi here with this basement in hand, 4 Cypher Machines left with a Foul Lady outside as well. It shouldn't be too much of an issue to make his rotation down. But still, big question comes with the fact that that's a stun here. Instantly, can we get a double stun here? Instant drop down here, very nicely done here. As first officer, will get an instant hit down there as well. We don't have polarity orbs there to share. But the rescue comes out here first from the side of our first officer. He has to stay downstairs here no matter what, because if he goes out straight towards his Hermit, it's a guaranteed double down. As we see 4 Cypher Machines about to be finished and procced. Seer is a potential next rescue, but with first officer being able to take the red here once again and back in towards middle, I would say, probably speaking, in our case, we're just going to wait and see whether or not there is any potential for this Antiquarian's rebound containment.
It does look like their last cipher is currently middle cipher. I think Hermit just disconnected that other cipher that is on 98%. So they're going to... Oh, it is not disconnected. That means that's going to...
We're blue, however, though, so that's an instant hit if we don't give the owl out. But even with the owl out, it doesn't matter as much. You can still land one more. Foul Lady finally changed to blue here for the side of our officer there as well. And now we're going to see whether or not there are any more potentials here with this stun. But this stun will be delayed by quite a lot, because it's not going to be that long. Oh, it is that long because we're next to the chair here. But once again, Lalzi manages to actually force the chair to be eliminated. And right now, no items left in the hands of our first officer here to use. It's a very bad endgame, as the force pop has to come through no matter what. Blink available on the hand here to use as well for the Hermit, because as long as we can get this down, we could potentially speaking be able to see the teleportation.
I mean, our Hermit does not have trump card, so I think this is going to be a pretty much guaranteed tie for our survivors, as the dungeon is quite far away with both gates being opened. In terms of the up, I'm not quite sure what that ability is called. He only has one of those to work with, so making it over to those gates would be quite challenging for him. So the Pharaoh Lady is on that gate. If he does end up committing to one of the gates, that would probably just be a backdoor rescue and a tree escape. As we can see, the Pharaoh Lady does make it out here. They did have blink, but it was detention insolence, so I don't think they would have actually been able to make it anything else than a tie. That makes it a tie for round 1, right? As the previous game was also a tie, making both teams even here.
Yeah, and I would say it's very nicely done here from the Hermit, especially with this chair camp there as well. We kind of utilize all of our polarity orbs just to force Antiquarian to return back to the mainer as well. In our case, it really is just more or less the fact that I don't think it should have been first officer to come to rescue. The owl was not bad. But switching from red to blue on first officer side was kind of one of the biggest mistakes. If it wasn't for the Seer's Owl still currently being available online to use, that would have went way more differently.
Yes, for sure. You know, if that if they had gotten that rescue, the Cypher was far enough to be able to make it a 4-person endgame. So it was all about that rescue not coming through. Really good job from our Hermit, but at the same time, as you were saying, that first officer should probably not have been the one going for it. Especially, almost gave me a bit of a heart attack when they took so long to swap to blue. I thought they were just going to instantly go down, and that would have been very, very difficult for our survivors. Though they did definitely just accept the tie at the chair. They're using all their abilities to delay the rescue. But if they hadn't done that, it would have been a win for the survivors. So I think that was really smart from our Hermits.
Yeah, and we do kind of slowly move on straight to our second half. Well, game 2, first half now, seeing what map will be chosen from both sides. But because with round 1, with Operator being gone and a Hermit being gone from the side of Blood Angels does have quite a bit more there to work with as well. We kind of are now just thinking about them later on rounds, especially when, you know, the potential here is game 2, where maybe it does become more survivor-sided, but not being able to get that 3-man escape game up against Hermit with such a great setup and full hard counter team. Delayed by Pin there did lose quite a bit.
Yes, for sure. They are currently doing the map ban followed by a map pick here. Just look like Blood Angels did ban Arms Factory here. What maps do you think that they should? Do you think they should be picking a more hunter or survivor side of map here for Delayed by Ping?
I think Delayed by Ping will work. A lot of these teams do work more with hunter side of map as well. So I would say it's a potential bigger map here. Chinatown, Ever Sleeping Town, Arms Factory. Usually the ones that are chosen quite a lot before by other teams too. But hard to say here really, because what we do really want to see is a difference in meta as well. But still, we do know that Never still has quite a lot of other characters to play, as it seems like it will be Ever Sleeping Town here being locked in.
Ever Sleeping Town is a really common map to play on, especially in this tournament. We've seen it quite a lot. Good for a lot of different hunters, potential wax artist pick. Or any just overall meta, Goatman, Opera, Wax Artist. A lot of these strong hunters perform really well on Ever Sleeping. Any others that I can't quite think of, but it's just an overall really strong map.
Yeah, and I would say it's kind of just more or less about the current day meta as well. Like, I mean, Anya Hunter does work quite decently on this map as well. You give 1 or 2 odd exceptions, being that potential Joker, or could even give our take saying Wuchan as well, since it's quite a big map with a lot of palettes with easy access there too. But it's going to be Delayed by Pin's Hunter this time, coming up first round during the first half once again of our game 2.
Yeah, so we will be seeing Never playing again, as there are no substitutes here. With Opera on Global, I'm not quite sure who they're going to pick, though I have previously talked to them and they do have a lot of hunters up their sleeve. I'm curious who they're going to be picking. As you said, probably not a Wuchang or a Clown, as they don't really fare all too well on this map. Sure, it will be someone who's fun to watch, though.
I do wonder though, because Hullabaloo is still available to play. We do know Ivy, and of course Never having played Sculptor as well. Sculptor wouldn't be too bad on this map. It just depends on whether or not you can negate that tram well enough, or the survivor has better timings with the tram. But I would say more or less recent metas being kind of converted more towards Warp instead of Blink first trade picks is where we're seeing the fact that, you know, rotation survivors are becoming more and more dominant up against these slow moving hunters.
Warp is for sure a really strong pick when you are really slow. You know, if we are seeing a Wax Artist, it would probably be with Warp first trade just to cut any potential rotations short. As you were saying, though I'm not all too sure, but for sure that Blink is not too strong if you just can't come close enough to the survivor to actually blink down them, you know? So it's just as you were saying, that's a very viable first trait pick. I've been seeing a lot of Warp Trump card actually in rank. Do you think that's a byproduct of the current day meta, or do you think that's just people deciding that, oh yeah, Warp is just too strong, we need it because we're very slow at our movement speed.
I do think I would say it's probably just more of survivors' utilizations on the items across the map,
Yeah.
right? Or even just rotations in general, too. It's to counter the current day meta, such as, your Lanternist, your Meteorologist, alongside with the potential Aeroplanist as well, in which will be permabanned in this matchup, too. But it's, in one way, more or less, it's like a long distance blink if you can activate it well enough and get through it on time too. But as we now do get ready from both teams, let's move on straight towards the ban pick phase. Here we go.
Yeah, I think it was Blood Angels that played both Enchantress and Doctor, right? For their round 1.
But Seer Antiquarium now, first two bans on the side of Never. We do have a Hunter ban here in which Goman will be going in towards the ban slot for Blood Angel survivors. And of course, first two picks here will kind of dictate what team comp they want to play around in.
Oh. It does look like we are selecting Fire Investigator and Gravekeeper. Fire Investigator being one of those survivors you talked about that have really strong rotational capabilities, just outpacing any really slow hunter. We're seeing a mechanic ban from Never here. Gravekeeper is just an overall really solid rescuer. Can tank a lot of hits. I would say he is... Oh, we are seeing a Meteor pick as well. I would say he's really strong into a lot of these meta hunters. And a Priestess ban from Never here, with Blood Angels locking in their final survivor. I wonder who's be.
Lawyer. Lawyer is quite intriguing to see here as a character lock-in, but if it's Seer, Antiquarian, Mechanic, and Priestess, it makes more sense for them to play Sculptor. It's the usual bans if you want to play Sculptor as well from the side of Never, but still, with Lawyer here available to play for Blood Angels, I would say Sculptor might come off as quite hard, especially with early game rotations from Lawyer's side, but even so, this team also does counter Ivy pretty well as well, so let's just see what we're kind of left with here, unless he decides that maybe it would be better to go Hullabaloo and Lawyer first chase.
Yes. I mean, Lawyer is also as you said, he is a really strong rotational character. You will know instantly where the hunter is. So playing around those big areas such as Corner House would be quite easy for him into slower hunters like Galatea. So as you said, the hunter might be a bit discouraged from picking a hunter like this.
Tough to say really now we do move on. It's just kind of waiting for the survivors to lock in here first as well, right? With Albar Senior currently now being gone, Peddler, it could be doable, especially with a map like this, but I would say when you're looking for a win, Breaking Wheel is also being played by Never as well, so you've kind of three different choices here to make overall. Breaking Wheel wouldn't be a bad pick, but you're just up against a 5% additional movement speed Lawyer, which does not work that well in your favor, especially if it's a Corner House spawn.
That is very true. Oh, it does look like we are selecting the QS tier. Can be a bit challenging with very fast moving survivors, though, such as Fire Investigator, though obviously you have no... you're not forced to chase anybody. You know, you can just spend the early game locking up ciphers, waiting for that insolence and blink to be ready, and then pick your chase. Do you think he could potentially be going for the rescuer here, though, if they want to chase somebody early, as Meteor and Fire Investigator are both really fast survivors at pulling distance after he goes out of that ball form?
Hard to say really. I don't think Gravekeeper is kind of his first choice overall as a chase. I'd say Lawyer more or less, especially with the fact that he can only drop down pallets and run in a straight line. That's kind of all QS needs to look for here as well. The only downside is you don't get Terror Shock, but still, Lawyer locking ourselves up in Corner House is not the right way to play, as you spawn on the very inner depths, in which that gives you a huge disadvantage when it comes to trying to counter this Qist.
This spawn is a bit puzzling, though it might as you said, the lawyer spawning in corner house here is going to be quite far away from pallets. And if you do want to counter AQS, you would want to be using those pallets slash windows for that speed boost. So it would take them quite a time to actually make it over there. Though, I mean, the QS did spawn quite far away from him, with the fire investigator being available to go to graveyard here. I think possibly a meteor first chase here because of the area she spawned in. I'm not quite sure what she has to work with, especially being a flywheel burrow type meteorologist spawning in a corner. I think that would be a pretty viable first chase target. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would say more or less, let's just see how much pallets we can utilize, or how long we can utilize the pallets straight towards S pallet and towards the double 11 here to win 2 pallets 1 window. But still, with the QS here spawning just underneath of balcony, simply allows us to force the lock on Lawyer Cypher Machine at corner house, unless there's 2 Cypher Machines spawned there. If not, Lawyer will have to make the rotation towards Geishas, in which we will have to slowly but surely interrupt Fire Investigator Cypher Machine at the same time too.
For sure. Oh, and in terms of builds, I think 2 people were running no borrowed time as well, with the lawyer being full kite, probably preparing to take chase here. So I'm not too sure, considering where this Q is spawned. As you said, they are probably just going to be locking off as many ciphers as possible, forcing the survivors into favorable positions for them. We are now loading in with the QS rocking their worn clothes, staring off into this fire investigator, and looking overall just at the cipher layout. It does look like they're registering that the fire investigator is moving towards graveyard here, but it does not look like that is their most wanted first chase, with them heading up over to corner house here, with the lawyer probably taking first chase here. Unfortunately, they locked themselves a bit out of the building here. The lawyer does drop around the going for the wait, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. But like we see here as well, right? We locked the Cypher Machine there towards the Geisha side, but it doesn't really matter as Lawyer was able to hide pretty well up against this QS. Now it's back straight towards our Fire Investigator here one last time as Corpse drops down the pallet, and of course, not too sure where that airbag was going, but Blink is currently available on our hand to use, so airbag goes away first, and Blink open for our next instant hit can open that cue ball.
Yes, I do think that like going into the corner here is a bit weird. A bit of a missed flywheel from our fire investigator here, proccing that first presence with insolence from our hunter. As you can see, with him going here and taking his first hit here, he kind of just cornered himself. Even if he does get a speed boost from that, he's kind of just trapped in no man's land here in the back of graveyard. Unfortunately, that is going to be where he meets his end, with that first presence ability locking off his airbag. He now has nothing to work with, which is a bit unfortunate for him.
Yeah, we do see as well here. It seems like Gravekeeper is already making his way in. Paladin drop down was nice, however, he's just gonna get hit here regardless of so there comes Never's hit on that GK. And of course, once again, we can lock the Cypher, not the Cypher, the chair here once again. It does come true, so we can get an additional hit on towards Gravekeeper if necessary. But it seems like right now we're just more focused on the hit, but the hit doesn't really come true, so speed boost out here. However, the most you can do is get a bit closer towards that corner to prolong the chair time.
Yes, he doesn't really have anything to work with here, but as you said, just get into that corner as soon as possible, as far away from chairs, and let the survivors cipher rush here. The Gravekeeper did get a damage to rescue. They can go for the second one, which they have already positioned themselves to do. In terms of ciphers, they have one on 40%, one on 30%. I think it's really good that they actually managed to not take any damage. As I said, the QS is locking off middle here, allowing the Gravekeeper to make it closer to the chair, though they were not close enough to take it for free. It does look like they'll probably be taking a hit, just stalling a bit here, using their shovel. The cipher is on 60, though the one in middle is probably going to be getting regressed soon. Beautiful blink here from our hunter, allowing that first elimination of the game. With
Not too sure if it mattered that much, but I felt like from the side of Fire Investigator, should have probably taken back that airbag the moment we had the chance to do so
yeah.
as well. Laura's going to be able to finish off that 4 cipher machine here. As you can see, the last 3 ciphers are actually pretty close towards each other, in which it allows QS for an easier time with the cipher locks as well. A very beautiful wind push back there from the side of Meteor to gain a tiny bit more distance, but aside from that, we did try to get the cue ball capture there working, but it seems like it was kind of thrown a bit off, so straight in towards cancellation it goes, and a beautiful wind push back here one more time, as Meteor has one last bottle on her hands to use.
Yes, and that Gravekeeper, instead of going for that middle cipher, which is a really smart move, they immediately started Graveyard, which forces the Hunter to use more of their contact points to actually go over and regress that one as well. Starting multiple ciphers is really smart against the Qist. As you can see, their Meteorologist has also already started another cipher. Their overall cipher machine decoding progress has reached 500%, though it is distributed amongst these 3 last ciphers. They don't really have a lot of injuries, so even though they are in a bit of an annoying situation here, with the final cipher layout, them not having taken all too many hits makes it a bit difficult for our Hunter to pressure those ciphers.
And
Because,
once again, as you can Lawyer, a bit unfortunate here. Flywheel a bit tiny, a bit earlier there than expected, so that just means Lawyer instant next chase is very possible. No borrow time as well, so never, if we can actually get this Lawyer down on time, we should be able to see a 3-man elimination somewhat guaranteed, but it just seems like once again looking for map control more. But instead managed to get the bait there as well, just about on time, and Lawyer will not be able to traverse across this side anymore as the capture does come true. And now with this, it depends on who can body block the dash for this Lawyer in order for us to pop that last cipher.
Yes, it does look like our Meteorologist is headed in for that rescue. That Gravekeeper is on the final cipher. I don't think that those connect points are going to produce that cipher again, so the QS is forced to try to lock it off. That's just going to be a pop from our Gravekeeper, though really smart, as you don't really want that cipher getting regressed. So that Lawyer having no burrow time did not kill their game as much as it would have had the QS not decided to commit to the cipher. He's currently just rummaging through a chest, with the Gravekeeper currently being on top of dungeon. The Meteor will be opening a gate. Though the QS is instantly pressuring that they do have Blink to work with as well.
Okay, Charm Senpai, please. Didn't manage to actually get the hit on towards the Charm, but that's okay. Blink open here, 1 week, a bit unfortunate, who will take the damage of this fall. Yeah, again, here you can see the Cipher Machine creating 50% by that Lawyer, who does have the additional elbow pad here. So GK with one last shovel on his hands to use as well. Cue ball capture here, currently ready once again. It's back into our shovel mode. We do have dashes here ready, but with the dash, the most you can actually go is to go back to the other palace. We got out of shoveling, said the dash didn't come true. Oh, a bit tough here from the side of GK, but that's a huge mistake made.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the Hunter was a bit too aware of the remaining progress on that shovel, so they decided to just wait it out. And the Gravekeeper was a bit too scared to actually commit to doing a dash. The Meteor is back on the gate, with the Lawyer going in for that rescue. That gate that they were previously opening, the one that Gravekeeper is chaired nearby, is on a current 60% though, so if she can kite this out with that flywheel, I do think that it will be enough for them to rescue and then go over to the gate, most likely allowing them to get a tie.
But we're a bit more focused on trying to lock the other gate right now. Meteor did not use up self-heal here as well, let's not forget, and the cue ball capture is just about to dissipate on time. The hit down does come true for Meteorologist, for out of 8 cue balls ready on hand to use, but will it really matter when the gate is open for the side of DA? Another tie game here once again by Blood Angels, very nicely done, especially with that mid to end game aggressiveness from the QS.
Yes. You are very right. I think with the Meteor kiting this long end game, it really made it a lot easier for the survivors to actually get the gate open in time. Had they instantly gone down, the Kias could have just gone back and used their cue ball to lock off the gate for it to not being able to be decoded in time, which would have made it a win for the Hunters. I think that was a really good job from our Meteor here. And also like overall team communication, allowing them to counter that pressuring from the QS. The Lawyer not having borrow time was looking a bit unfortunate from the survivors, though with the Hunter not knowing this, I think they actually managed to squeeze out a tie. even though it was sort of looking like a loss for them at times.
Yeah, but still, I would say in this game, Lawyer actually did really well with the hiding too. It kind of is what
Yeah.
Lawyer is good at the end of the day as well, right? So
For sure.
with this game now currently coming into the conclusion here too, we're thinking whether or not there is any possibility from the side of Lalzi here as we move on straight to our second half to see whether or not we can potentially speaking look for more than just a tie. Winning here probably will be for the best, but still, let's not forget. DB Delayed by Pin still does have full meta characters available to play, except for the Seer, I guess, in this case, who's into permabans, out of sight, out of mind.
Yes, I'm really curious how they're going to play this. In terms of what Lulsi has previously played, I do think that an Ivy could be an option here for Ever Sleeping Town, unless she is going to be banned. They do have a Herbert on global bans, which means that they do have multiple meta options available for round 2 here, which is quite good for them. Though, as you said, it is the same for their survivors, with only Seer being picked. Being on global bans at the moment. They do have a lot of different meta options available. I would say Ever Sleeping is pretty good for Goatman and also Opera Singer. We might be seeing that from Lulsi. Though he could also play Hullabaloo. Hullabaloo does fare okay on Ever Sleeping, does he not?
Yeah, he clears Ever Sleeping quite well actually, but also at the same time it kind of is just more like for Hullabaloo, it's hard really to say from Hunter's side because you need to be really good at him, especially with double downs as well after the first rescue to maintain a very good prowess and aggression up against Survivor. It's more or less just playing as around a few thousand games of Hullabaloo as much as possible to kind of gain this momentum and gain this skill. But knowing from EU, our side as well, not a lot of us play Hunter on a daily basis, with Pin being averaging around 110 to 150.
Yeah, so you don't really get that much experience, especially on ping-based hunters such as Hullabaloo, unless you just have an insane dedication to custom mode where you always have green ping. Getting those motor skills for the hunters is going to be quite difficult for any EU player. Especially, yes, this tournament does give you access to constant green ping in your matchups, but you won't really be as experienced on Opera Singer as a person living in North America because they can play her more, especially in more competitive settings. Because, you can't really be playing these strong meta hunters in rank, not only because you're banned, but also because you don't really have the ping for it. Though, if I do check Lulsi's profile, it does look like he's been playing different meta hunters in rank quite consistently as well, with them having high badges on both Ivy and Hullabaloo. So they might actually have enough experience to control them properly. So I'm curious how they're going to play.
And I would say probably for our side of the Hunter as well, it's quite dependent in that sense too, where we're thinking if there is kind of any opportunities for weaknesses to be exploited by the side of Delayed by Pin survivors as well. I'm kind of looking forward to see whether or not we could see the Archer coming out, especially from the side of EU, in which we don't see her as much. But still, if you want to go for a harass, Team Ivy here can be banned at the same time too. More or less speaking, we are going to be restarting our lobby, so we probably will be back real short. Actually, I don't even know what's going on, so we're just gonna wait and see from the side of technical teams. But still, once again, this is what was the last game? Last game was 22-2, wasn't it? So now it's back to Blood Angels Hunters up by Delayed by Pin survivors, and more or less we just want to see whether or not there is any more potential of getting wins, because if this ties on continuing on forward, we might just have to go overtime and see who gets the fastest escapes or eliminations.
Yes, I don't really think I've witnessed any such overtime games other than, round 4. Isn't it about determining how fast you get downs, etc., for how to figure out who won? Because, we can't be playing until infinity. That would be kind of interesting to see, but at the same time, it would be nice to, go home early and enjoy our Friday evenings, would it not? Or
No,
am
I'll be
I?
continuing to working for the next 12 hours, ladies and gentlemen. I have not
Ooh.
clocked off yet. But still, aside from all that, we should be able to see what we should be able to see the kind of contentions as well from the side of BA's Hunter too. We saw once again right Hermit round one Necron being gone. Still have Goldmine Opera Singer available to play, in which Opera definitely works way better on this map compared to a lot of other hunters too.
Yeah.
So let's just see whether or not what delay by pin. It kind of is just pick and choose now. You pick your own poison by this case, and it just depends on how much poison you're willing to take.
For sure. You know, if when it comes to the survivor picks, I am really expecting to see a doctor if she is not banned, as she is very, very strong into a lot of these hunters. Probably going to be seeing a doctor plus a potential harasser ban though from Lolsey. If not, I would expect the doctor to get picked along with a harasser, as you know that's how they work the best. I think us actually being allowed to see a doctor in round one was quite a surprise, as she is very, very strong in this meta. I do don't know. Will we be continuing? Do we have any
Do we have any staff members here? Well, it will be the right question to see, because it seems like we're having technical difficulties ourselves right now. But yeah, I would say, look, Doctor is a potential good pick, but with Seer currently, oh, are we resetting? I'm so confused. But with Seer being in towards the permanent ban phase here as well, which does work well better with Doctor. Kind of harder here to say, but yeah, we're just gonna reset the lobby real quick before we go on towards the ban pick phase. But once again, the question does now kind of rely more on what is kind of the potential. Oh, brilliant. I have been invited and ghosted once again, not too surprising. But where was I again? That's my brain kind of just died. Ah, yes. So now on towards the second half, it's kind of more just looking at versatilities of hunters and survivors. You saw Breaking Wheel, Opera, Ivy available to play. Goldman still hasn't been used, just a Qist and Peddler on the hands of hunters.
Yeah, that is a lot of different options available. Might probably be picking something more meta into a specific comp. It's really good that because they have so many different strong options, it's not really going to be that easy for the survivors to counter one specific meta pick, as you know they have multiple available. Pretty sure that Lolsey will be using this to their advantage, probably just going to pick whatever is strongest into a given comp, while also this strong pick not being hot garbage, right? As yes, they did pick Hermit round one, but that does open the world of possibilities for who they can play next, right?
Yeah, and we kind of should see whether or not if there's any more potential of kind of just seeing more survivor team comps to come out here too, because like your main goal once again is just to see whether or not you can aim for the higher ground here, especially early game up against survivor side. And knowing the EU region here as well, we like bringing only one tie turner most of the times throughout the games. It's a lot of solo containment that we rely on rather than getting that tie turner for extra, you know, decoding speed out as well.
Yeah, you are very right there. I do think that tie turner is not. I feel people are sleeping on tie turner. I think it should definitely be used more, especially as you said, as that does force people to. Oh God, I'm trying to figure out what's currently going on with the lobby. Don't mind me, but it does force them to contain a lot more than they should. As if you do have two, that is 43 seconds of kiting. Wait.
You're not in lobby?
We are currently trying to figure it out, I think.
Okay. let's give this a try. Whether or not you can actually come in will be. Oh no, you are here. Okay, that works about the same. Okay, we are going to slowly but surely move on straight towards our ban pick phase here once again for game 2, second half. Sorry for the delay. More or less speaking, it's just some technical difficulties, not anything surprising anymore as well.
I think EL has technical difficulties whenever we try to schedule anything at all. There's always something going on with these lobbies, so it does look like we are currently entering the ban pick phase with everything having gone smoothly here, with Lulzi insta removing that Priestess and Doctor, really strong for healing, especially on Red Church here with a lot of strong pallets and Priestess just being able to portal through buildings. It is not all too surprising the Witch Hunter will delayed by ping ban.
I would say our kind of main goal on focus here with the Shadow here currently being in towards the permanent ban phase. But it's either going to be Opera or Goldman here, so we could still go with that tanky team comp with Lanternist and Puppeteer here, as you can see those two already being locked in.
Yeah, really strong characters with strong tanking capabilities, just as you said. Lulzi banning Gravekeeper might be aiming to play something like Goatman, though Goatman into Puppeteer is not all too fun at all. Though a Mercenary pick from our Delayed by Ping here, both Mercenary and Puppeteer having strong rescuing capabilities, might not be playing a Camp Hunter then. Because of how strong these are for guaranteeing rescues, we are seeing a Mechanic ban, followed by a last Survivor pick here from Delayed by Ping. Which Hunter do you think bans Mechanic, Gravekeeper, Doctor, and Priestess?
Look, I think anyone can ban any of the few. Doctor more or less is just an annoyance ban there. Yeah, from the side of Lousy here, I feel. Meteorologist will be your final last pick, just for the potential to heal up the Puppeteer throughout the mid to end game scenarios where you can't really pick him up there at all. But it is still quite a solid team comp here from the side of Survivors too. We should more or less be looking at whether or not we have Cypher Rush capabilities, or, if Goldman is doable here for Lousy to be played.
That is very true. I mean, we do have a global 10% decoding buff from Lanternus, so, she does have that 10% decoding debuff as well. They don't really have anything that's all too strong for their Cypher Rushing capabilities here, though the only negating factor is their Mercenary. The synergy between Puppeteer and Meteor, as you were saying, really good for actually being able to heal him up. Barmaid also being another character that functions really well with Puppeteer, though you don't really want to be seeing Barmaid in any rounds of a tournament, unless you are aiming to counter anything as specific, as she is a bit too weak. Though Meteor is a very versatile, very strong character, does have a lot of different cloud spots here on Ever Sleeping as well. I'm curious if it does get chased, if she's going to be utilizing any of them. So we are just waiting to see which Hunter Lulzi is going to pick. As you were saying, it could be a potential Goatman here.
It's Hullabaloo locked in for Lousy. That's not too bad overall then, but Hullabaloo does get countered pretty hard by the Mercenary there too, with no damage rescues in and out with just your 2 elbow pads. The only good news I'd say is you probably want to go after Puppeteer for that first chase potential, but still, Undaunting available on hand to use can negate your very just a big pick and choose.
Yeah, for sure. Puppeteer into Hullabaloo is just a matter of who manages to go about the red of the Hullabaloo the best. If the Hullabaloo is able to use it to prevent puppets and undaunted abilities, that would be really good for him. Though at the same time, if they don't play it properly, they will be giving the puppet a really easy chance to tank 4 hits. So I think because the main thing you want to do when you are chasing a Puppeteer as a Hullabaloo is just using the first 2 colors, and then or getting 2 hits really in really quick succession, as you do have that ability locking lingering effect on any survivor. It's all about patience and how Hullabaloo decides to play it if they want to chase Puppeteer here, because if they make any sort of tiny mistake, it would be very easy for Puppeteer to actually get that kite off. In terms of builds, we're seeing a flywheel borrow time on both Puppeteer and Meteor, broken windows, and borrow time on Lanternus and borrow time Tide Turner on the Mercenary. I don't think I've been seeing all too much broken windows on Lanternus. How do you feel about this?
It's. I think it's debatable, more or less speaking. But for Lanternus, it's probably just all about whether or not we can rotate out away from Hullabaloo as much as possible, right? It's just all with palette mind games there from Lanternus side to negate palette as much as possible for that hit with the spawn, with his or own living frame. But we did just see the area selection mode there earlier on. As we now move on straight towards game 2, second half, between Delayed by Pin and, of course, Blood Angels, where Lozzie will be playing Color Blue up against the Lanternist, Meteorologist, Merc, and Puppeteer.
We are using our very, very red skin here from Lolsi, already walking in towards the Meteorologist, who did spawn below middle here. It does look like they are already aiming their clone, probably committing to the Meteor here, trying to mind game around this building, seeing if she has rotated in that direction. Though she did just run around the double 11 here, actually going up towards that middle building, either chasing the Mercenary or the Puppeteer here, not quite going for that Lanternist, who would have been able to rotate to Graveyard. So that is a really good call. We are headed up towards the Puppeteer at the moment, who's standing standby at the window, dropping down. I don't think they noticed the Puppeteer, which was really good hiding from Umi here. And this is a Mercenary first chase, allowing the Puppeteer to escape uninjured, not getting chased. And Mercenary into Hullabaloo, no presence, can be a bit tricky for him, don't you agree?
Yeah, and we're kind of now looking at two global paths here currently being consumed as well. Double Surprise still ready on hand to use, but there is a potential warp in which Lolzy deciding that breaking the pallet might just be better. It's a warp here instantly over towards the other side, as now our main target is to get in between one of the pallets. No red ball there landed, unfortunately speaking. So with this, it's a pallet drop down and another rotation out.
I am not quite sure how that didn't hit. That double surprise being placed in the pallet is really smart from Lolzy here. Though unfortunately he is not really getting that white ball, even though I think he should have been able to. A really good hitbox manipulation anyhow from our Mercenary. Dropping both these middle pallets, just forcing him to break everything that he drops. I do think this is going to be a hit though, unless he manages to... this Mercenary is doing an amazing job at getting out of the hit radius from our Hullabaloo, though this is a bit of a tricky situation for him to be enforced to stay at these gate pallets. Is that going to be a last hit? That is a last hit. Really good use of that double surprise, that clone that was going to run out. And just dying near the gate here, as far away from chairs as possible, dragging him back over to Geisha House, which only has one pallet, which has been dropped. So that's probably going to get broken. No Tide Turners as well on the team, so getting him out of this chair could be a bit difficult. But at the same time, their ciphers are looking quite good, with the one in middle being at 50% and the one that just got started by Meteorologist being at 50%. Not being at 20%, and we are sending our Lanternus in for this rescue, probably just going to stall it a bit with a freeze frame probably available for this chair stall. Just going to eat. Beautiful damageless rescue.
No damage rescue there was a little bit unfortunate for the side of Hullabaloo, but still, Mercenary with only one snowball on hand to use here as well, and our Cypher Machine currently 84 and 50% for Survivor's side. Merc will go down here, however, but still, our rotation is towards middle, where we're closely towards our other two Survivors at the same time. And of course, with the Cypher Machine here currently being done, we could potentially see Puppeteer here coming in for the rescue and looking for the body blocks for our Mercenary. And then, if indeed is possible, let's see whether or not we can get a chest open for Mercy to pick up an item for a potential lawn rebound kite for endgame.
It does look like we are cheering close to the cipher, though it is already primed at the moment, which makes it a bit tricky for our hunter, actually allowing for the damageless rescue on our Merc, so that Lanternist is instantly going down with detention. The Merc is left at full health with Tide Turner for this endgame, and the Lanternist is being left to bleed on the floor here. The Mercenary is hiding right next to where the Hullabaloo is. Beautiful flywheel from our Meteorologist. But they are currently running into Old Geisha House, which has no pallets on hand. Probably going to go down soon. The gauge has just been touched. It is on about 20%, with Mercenary hiding over there, probably wanting to go for that Tide Turner rescue so that they can force the gates. With the
Mm,
train coming in here.
but we
Oh,
did
no.
manage to spot a
No.
mercenary here. Can we get a double stack on early on? It seems like we can't, unfortunately speaking, as the red ball does just come through as well. Mercenary tanking the full damage hit here, and as you can see here as well, the other gate currently at 80%. Both our not Ento, our Meteor and Merc is already rushing for the X gate as of now. And that's a
Tide Turner in.
4-man escape here. That is something that we
Yeah.
were not expecting, but still, Mercenary with that Titan endgame once again, unfortunately speaking, at full health, is our divine savior Grace once again.
Yeah, for sure. I think him being full health was definitely what carried the survivors here. If he had stayed around the chair, for like if he had camped the chair for endgame instead of just leaving, getting that down on the mercenary, making him be half health for the endgame, it would have obviously not been a for escape. But at the same time, it would have been a bit difficult for the hunter to actually get a tie there. So it's just overall very unfortunate for Lolsey here that they weren't able to get that mercenary eliminated beforehand. I think the early game kite from our Mercury not wasting, but burning 3 elbow pads relatively fast was a bit of a risky move. But at the same time, mercenary elimination time on the chair is very, very slow. And forcing out that warp there was also a really good play from our Merc. And I think they also did a really good job keeping themselves away from the ciphers that they were working on. Don't you agree? That
Yeah,
that when they died, like semi close to middle, it was already finished, and it forced the hunter to actually drag them all the way over to that cipher that was already primed at the time. Sorry for interrupting you. Can you please continue?
No, don't worry about that. But yeah, more or less speaking, the survivors has done very well. But we do now see, right? We move on straight towards game 3, first half here as well, in which, because it was a 4-man escape last game, if any of the Hunter nor survivor side of DelayedByPing gets a 3-man escape or a 3-man elimination, we will just finish within the first half here as well. But still, once again, it was Hullabaloo up against Mercenary by that day and age. We did utilize or maybe dance around that double surprise nicely for the Merc as well, being able to delay the down by as long as possible. So it is a huge kudos from the side of Mercy, but it does kind of showcase that on the side of Hullabaloo, if you can't land those double surprises, it is just one of the hardest things to do as well when it comes to trying to aim for a win.
Yeah, for sure. We are currently entering the map banning and picking phase with DelayedByPing banning Leo's memory, followed shortly by Blood Angel's map pick. As you said, I think you really need to get those hits with the double surprise when you are playing Hullabaloo to actually get it down. The more clones that you're able to dodge, the easier it becomes to actually delay that first down for as long as possible. So in that pallet, it was really puzzling me that they were not actually hitting. But at the same time, I think Hullabaloo's hitbox can be a bit difficult to work around as hunters. You need to be very patient with when you actually swing to actually get those hits. So if you're just blindly swinging, it's just a bit easier for the survivors to actually get to actually dodge those abilities, even though he had positioned the clone really well in the middle of the pallet. The mercenary was probably able to predict when he was going to swing and just dance out of the area at a good time. So yeah, we are doing a round on Moonlit River Park here. Really really hunter-sided map. I am curious who they're going to play, with DelayedByPing choosing to play Hunter first, which means that we will once again be seeing Never here.
Yeah. But if that's the case here, would it be Never? I'm not. Yeah, it is Never. Okay, so it's DelayedByPing's Hunter here on this map. They've gotten 2 tie games overall from round 1 and round 2. Goldman was banned during the first half, and in exchange, we did play QS in exchange as well. So currently Opera and QS in towards the permaban phases here, as we do still have IV Goldman Peddler available to play here too. But with a map like this, knowing Never as well, I would say it's kind of more sculptor oriented more than anything else. But Blurry King Wheel here also can work if they don't take advantage of working carousel.
Yes. I think, as I was doing previously, I do have kind of short-term memory loss. I am once again looking at Never's character badges. As you were saying, Sculpture is definitely an option. They do also have a Gamekeeper and Wax Artist available for hunters that are pretty strong on this map. We could be seeing those as well. If I were to guess, would you say that both Gamekeeper and Wax Artist fare pretty well on this map? Oh.
Yeah, well, not in the case of you want to win, but in the case of you want to tie, definitely speaking here.
True.
So I would say for Never, it's a choice between the two here as well.
Oh, we could also be
Over-
seeing a Peddler though, if we think about Never's previous picks. I didn't notice that when I was checking their badges, so if I remember their previous picking history, we could very well be seeing that. She does fare quite okay on Moonlit River Park as well, but yeah, no, the other options were kind of more tie-oriented. I would say Peddler is also kind of more going for a tie. But I'm not sure. I think going for a tie would also be alright, though, as their team is currently in the lead, aren't they?
Yes, and I would probably say now, in the case of DelayedByPing's Hunter here, tying will be fine. If we tie this one out, it kind of just more or less means that as long as you can one-man escape next game, you do win via points here too. As we now do move on towards the game, let's see here. This is going to be our game 3 first half between Blood Angels and DelayedByPing.
Yes. We will now be entering the banning and picking phase, with them actually having 200 bans available, and we are starting it off with the Seer Antiquarian ban, same bans as last game. Doesn't tell us all too much about who they're playing, but I'm curious who Blood Angels will ban when it comes to Never's Hunter options.
Give me a look here as well. Next two bans here, they could ban out Goatman once again alongside with a potential Ivy. But instead it seems like it's going to be Color Blue and Goatman here gone from the side of Never's Hunter pool. And now back to the survivors here being chosen. Since it is Moonlit Rural Park, Escapologist here wouldn't be bad of our first pick, but instead seems like we're currently eyeing on the Mechanic and Archer being chosen for the first two.
Yeah, really strong survivors. Archer especially does fare well into quite a lot of hunters. Like, for example, Breaking Wheel, I think she is one of the most viable harassers into him. If that would ever be an option for Never here. We are banning that Mercenary. Mechanic also really strong for Cypher Rush. You do have basically a 5v1 for the Hunter to deal with instead of a standard 4v1. Into another survivor pick here from Blood Angels. And we are seeing that Escapologist that you did previously mention. A really strong survivor overall. I don't think we've been seeing him all too much in this tournament, though it is always a nice surprise. As for the last... Yeah?
Oh no, sorry, I was just kind of more eyeing on towards that Embalmer there being banned as well. So we don't want to give the guaranteed tie games here, and in that case, rotation is kind of more important from the side of Blood Angels too. So if we want maintaining full health for the Mechanic Cypher Rush, I was about to say a Psychologist wouldn't be as bad, but Lanternist wouldn't be bad as well of a choice here being chosen to boost the Cypher Machine decoding progress.
Yeah, as long as you can keep the entire team full health here, the Mechanic will be able to Cypher Rush really well if they don't go for that Mechanic initial first chase. Escapologist, Archer, and Lanternist all have good abilities for delaying that first hit as long as possible. But I think you could potentially try to play around this by playing a bit of a faster Hunter here. But I am not all too sure. Maybe someone with projectiles or something for preventing that. Okay, wait. Where I'm getting right is, I think, an overall just really strong Chase Hunter that's semi-fast to prevent the survivors from actually rotating here and using their abilities to prevent that first hit would be really smart from our Hunter here. But I'm not all too sure. Yeah?
You're not too sure?
I am not all too sure who they will be picking, though. The survivors don't really have all too strong of a rescuer, though. So you might want to capitalize on that if you want to do a more of a camp-oriented hunter and getting escapologist out as soon as possible. Oh, it does look like we are picking Breaking Wheel. Oh, Breaking Wheel into mechanic can be a bit challenging if you don't want to go for that mechanic first, as you don't really get injuries with Breaking Wheel. It's more so that you get spikes. So if you can get that first kite and delay that first hit as long as possible, that mechanic will be able to decode quite well. Archer is also a pretty strong character into Breaking Wheel. It does look like their survivors are going pretty all in on the no borrow times, though, with 2 tides, flywheel tide on both escapologist and Archer, broken windows, flywheel on the lanternist, and full kite on the mechanic here, with the Breaking Wheel spawning right next to haunted house. It's not too easy to say exactly who a Breaking Wheel would be chasing, as they do have really strong map mobility, but do you think they would be going for haunted house, even though they do have a really strong window there to actually play around, of course, wheel out of wheel form?
I think probably best case scenario is to go after mechanic. Yeah, it would be more surprising if we don't go after her first, especially with, Doll being on hand as well. It's most likely going to be leaving Lanterns for a second chase after we actually enabled that trap spike, that Thanos stop, excuse me, as well, just to get her out of her own living image form as well. I would say this team comp is a bit harder to kind of gain pressure for survivors to force hunters off towards a very bad scenario. Maybe you have the potential capacity of Archer getting that hard strike just when Breaking Wheel changes to human form to cancel that max presence pessimistic, but even so, a bit harder to do and depends on whether or not mechanic can kite for a long time.
Yes, it's all dependent on the first chase. But, I mean, the area that she is in is quite alright against Breaking Wheel. I think it's all about that first mind game at the 2-story window. Probably just going to immediately go on up for that. If she can, though, as you know, she does spawn quite far away from the church, just making sure that the hunter is actually going for her. We do see the trail, though we don't immediately head upstairs. Mechanic being really patient here and waiting to drop down. Wheel will be forced to leave wheel form here. Bot is not deployed, if I am correct. Headed over towards Godkai here now for this mechanic. Really good job baiting the Breaking Wheel into thinking that I actually headed around here. I think this mechanic is playing everything really patiently. So that is unfortunately a first spike. They've kind of put themselves into a bit of a open area here, so that makes it a bit more difficult to dodge the spikes. And they do have a trap on hand. Will we be seeing that into a down here? Yes. Ooh, great job from our Breaking Wheel with Blink being up in 5 seconds. I do think that the mechanic would have had to drop both pallets here for that to not have been a down. I think people really easily underestimate how long Breaking Wheel's stun is. Because yes, you can get stunned after you volt something, but that instant, ooh.
Yeah, this is pretty bad right now because escapologist can tank the very first hit, but even so, right now, being so far away from the chair here currently, our main kind of focus here is to get this trap on first. Very beautifully done here from the side of Never, as it is able to get us straight towards the chair, but it doesn't matter if the blink down here comes over first. Our lanternist is currently on the way here for the next rescue here as well, so as long as we can get out to look for the lanternist, it's a guaranteed double stuff here on our side note too. The switcheroo does come over here first, as right now. For Lanternist, max presence is currently ready on hand to use as well. Flywheel here ready. Lanternist, Flywheel, beautifully speaking, done, as we're going to be able to force her out. But even so, let's not forget, one trap on the chair, picking Escapologist up is a guaranteed double strike here.
That is very true. The Escapologist did crawl away from the chair, though, to prevent this, but at the same time, you really can't get all too far. He will probably just get picked up again here, leaving another trap at the chair. We are seeing that delay, though. Is that going to be a hit? That is a hit on the Lanternist. That is another hit on the Lanternist, and the Escapologist will unfortunately not be able to struggle in time, though this mechanic will be able to make it onto the roller coaster here. It is a Breaking Wheel, though, so he will be able to quite quickly catch up. Just cheering over here. We are seeing the Archer come in for this rescue. Might be a free, depending on how fast this Breaking Wheel makes it over there. No, that is just going to be a free rescue, and we are going to be healing up with the bot here at third stop, as you know the stop was turned off on second, just trying to stuff this archer. She does have flywheel to work with, but she did use her tide turner here. And ooh, I
Pretty
don't
bad you
think
have a
that was gonna-
flywheel over here comes over first, but let's not forget one more trapper you'll have to use as well, so we probably shouldn't have looked for that at all. The hit goes down here for Archer first. We can cheer Archer go back towards Lanterns. It doesn't matter here as much. But right now, having nothing left to use, Living Frame already currently being consumed there too. Back the wheel form we go, and it's direct target on Lanternist. One last survivor here. Trying to just buy that tiny bit more time. Extended spikes, that's number one. No flywheel on hand to use. And let's not forget here as well, who's the one coming in? It's our escapologist.
I mean, they are in a really difficult position with everyone being injured. They can't really make this rescue, no matter what they do, unless, you know, the breaking wheel just leaves the chair. We will be seeing the mechanic decoding that cipher over there, though I don't think it will be mistaken as the escapologist. So we are still going back for the chair here to prevent that rescue. That is probably just going to be the down there. Oh, beautiful rescue from the breaking wheel. No, not from the breaking wheel, from the escapologist. So that is probably just going to be another down. The archer already got hit on tide turner, but oh, we are going for the bot now.
Going for the bot is good in the sense that mech can't decode here anymore as well, but still we need to go back straight towards that archer as well at the same time. The archer was after half rescues, so I think it'd be quite a huge miss if we don't go for it. But it seems like right now trying to look for mechanic here once again, who was after half rescued, by the way, barely just about on time. But right now no blink, very nice trap there, but of course flywheel will counter it here initially speaking, but Bane has nowhere left to go. Oh, nice. Doll drop down there, actually. Never mind from what I said. And back up again. Another beautiful trap, but still, this should allow her to get towards the start of Coaster. But it seems like we just won't take it here just yet, as another trap is going to guarantee it.
Yeah. And that is the down and elimination on the mechanic here. I think both those traps from Never were actually so beautiful in terms of how quickly he placed them. And also, I didn't even know that you could throw the trap that precisely up the stairs there, not allowing the mechanic to take the roller coaster to prevent her down. She was pretty dead anyway, but we will be spotting out the Lanternist here, getting one spike, probably two. I'm not sure the cooldown on Max Presence there. Oh, we are just taking it. You cannot flywheel the spikes, so she should have probably had to move her clone. That's just going to be the snap on the Lanternist. Clone not available to counter that. Just leaving her on the ground. Nobody has used their self-heals yet, which is good from the survivors. But this breaking wheel does have quite a lot of pressure in terms of ciphers. They have one on 79%, which is the one over here. No tinnitus though, so we know that the survivors are not nearby. The escapologist is just hiding. The archer is dead on chair, but she is on the other side of the map, probably just trying to spot out this escapologist, which we do find him. I think he was rescued before half, though, unless I am severely mistaken. We will probably just be going for this chair, and it is a matter on if they can get dungeon or not. A little bird told me that if they get this 4K, then that is going to be the automatic win for Delayed by Ping. So I think Never will need to lock in and try to get that. This escapologist is not dead on chair. Archer might be going in for the rescue, though I would say that would be a bit risky, leaving a peeper at the chair here and just going for the Lanternist, who is just pressuring the Lanternist, but at the same time just going back when they see the Archer triggering that peeper. We want to get at least one of them eliminated, and then we can play for the 4K.
Yeah.
Playing for a 4K when you have... Yeah.
Oh, no. It's okay for now, I think. More or less speaking, trying to get a little bit more crossbow on towards our side here, too. Bow and arrow is still on 4-second cooldown, so it doesn't matter here as much, thankfully speaking. We've quite a lot of cipher machines dispersed outside with a huge progression rate. Leaving Archer out here with the last cipher machine wouldn't be the best case scenario, as our cipher machines are just barely 11% before we can pop open everything.
Yeah, it does look like we are headed back for the Archer here, and she is on a 50% cipher machine, but if we think back to it, the mechanic cipher did have 80% progress. So by them targeting the Archer here, they might actually not be able to down her before the cipher is ready. Okay, really just utilizing a wheel strong map pressure here and going back to the different ciphers that they do have progress on. If we consider it, the archer does not have borrow time, which the hunter should be pretty aware of. We could just go for a down on her and then getting the lanternist endgame. But at
Yeah.
the same time, we just have self heal, and we do not have trump card available, so they might still be able to get that dungeon escape. I am not too sure. We are not really committing to any targets here. The lanternist has not started, but they have started decoding that last cipher here, which is on 90%. Probably going to be done on time. That is just going to be a down on the archer into a pop, though obviously she has no borrowed time. Probably just going to chair here. Dungeon is on this side of the map, so the Amanda will probably just be forced to go over to that gate, unless they will be counter rotating this wheel here, headed for that bridge that they don't think he will be going for. But it's a breaking wheel after all. He is very fast, so it's just a matter of if he will be able to find her.
Crows.
We just have crows. So her getting on over to that dungeon would be a bit challenging for her, dare I say. Just leaving that clone there. But fun fact, Lanternus has been severely debuffed for when exit gates are openable, aka when all the cipher machines have popped. So her clone ability doesn't allow her to get anywhere. Her making it over to Godkai here would be very challenging for her. As you can see, it just instantly runs out. We will be getting that second spike, so now even though she has flywheel, she won't really be able to make it anywhere. You will see her flywheel that trap, but we will have another one to work with. Dungeon is over there and it's open, but at the same time, that breaking wheel gets a pretty early, not a pretty early, but a pretty easy hit here with traps to work with. Really difficult though for the lantern, as entire kit is destroyed by gates being activated. I think her kiting potential across the map after she had gotten crows was very, very grim. Wouldn't you agree? It was just a very difficult position to be in.
Yeah, but with never just securing the format elimination, we'll guarantee the tie here up against Delayed by Pin, right? So we can kind of congratulate Delayed by Pin here too with the early with the early win from their side as well. But with this in conclusion, right, Delayed by Pin will be our first finalist that will be moving on towards the finals, in which it will be happening in week 10. Any final closing thoughts, Mamima?
I think Delayed by Ping and Blood Angels both played really well, and I'm really excited to see how they will be playing next weekend in the grand finals. Obviously, Delayed by Ping, not Blood Angels, as they did unfortunately get eliminated here, but I'm really curious how that final is going to be looking. And I hope both teams had fun. That's what matters at the end of the day. I actually think this is Delayed by Ping's first time playing to round 3. So congrats to Blood Angels to making that happen. I think they played really well. And I think overall, good games from both our teams here. And beautifully played from both of them.
Yeah. Definitely speaking for sure. But I do think that will be the conclusion right now. Let's congratulate once again Delayed by Pin for winning up against Blood Angels. And we will see you later on for our second semi-finals, which will be streamed. I'm not too sure where, but we'll know that in the Discord server.
Yes. Thank you guys for watching, and well played by both teams.